Alrighty. So, and I'm also going to mute everyone because I want to be sure that, I think we all are muted actually, but just to be sure, I'm going to mute everyone, and then the candidate like Marian, that you're going to be the first to speak, then you'll have to unmute separately. So, because I'll mute you, then you have to unmute. So I'm going to mute everybody, and I'm going to allow you, of course, to unmute yourselves. Okay, and the reason we do that is so that for when we're recording, only the person that's speaking would be recorded. Otherwise, every time someone coughs or, you know, it would go to their video. So with that, we'll start with Marian Matthews from House District 27. And our format is vaguely about a total of 15 minutes. If you don't want to use it all, you don't have to. There'll be about 10 minutes of your presentation and then about 5 minutes of questions. And so this is our candidates' chance to talk to us about their campaign and what they're thinking about, and we're eager and so glad you're here. We know we ask people on super short notice, so thank you for coming, and with that, here's Marian. You've got to unmute. Let's see if you can unmute.
Yeah, okay, wait a minute.
There you go.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Unmute myself, okay. All right, there we go. All right, okay. Well, thank you. First of all, 27 participants, that's awesome. And it's a little strange to be talking into a laptop computer and not be able to see anybody but myself. And there was a way to fix that somehow. Gallery view, there we go. Okay, sorry. And there's I know a number of you, but I don't know everybody. So I became a legislator in a somewhat strange and unusual way. And first of all, let me tell you a little bit of my district. And I think the best word to describe it when I moved here, which was more than 30 years ago, was red. It was a very red district in terms of its politics. And District 27 starts down at San Mateo and Academy. You know where that is, and then you just come up Academy all the way a little east of Eubank, and you're going to drive by the Academy, you're going to drive by Whole Foods, with a shopping center where Whole Foods is, and so forth. So if you're familiar with this part of the city, it's parts of it are kind of upscale. Tanawan West is in the district. It is not the most democratic part of the district. It's the least democratic part of the district. But then it's a varied district, and it has a lot of senior citizens. I live in a townhome on a street, which is all townhomes. A lot of people move up here because the schools are perceived to be good, and I think that's probably true. It's a very, very nice part of the city. It's beautiful parks, lots of local small shopping centers, Mountain Run, Page One is up here, and so forth. Some good restaurants. Anyway, and for years and years and years, it was red, red, red. And surprisingly, demographics began to change, which was a really good thing. And in about 2017 or so, off and on, I've been involved in Democratic politics off and on for a long time. And I started to notice that, I think I was probably campaigning for Tim Keller or something, and I started to notice that there were actually a fair number of Democrats, and pulled some numbers, and became a precinct chair after Trump's election in 2016, and really started looking at the numbers. And I went to the ward chair and I said, tell you what, I said, I would like to do grassroots organization in this district if you will make me vice chair of the ward, so I have a little broader scope than just being a precinct chair. And he said, you crazy woman, what are you talking about? He didn't say that, but that was the look on his face. And he said, go for it. And they elected me vice ward chair, and I made some changes in some of the precinct chairs to get some people to get women, quite frankly, who would go out and knock doors and were as interested as I was in creating a grassroots organization for Democrats up in the Northeast Heights. And it was an awesome experience. We go knock on doors, which is something we can't do now, obviously. And we ended up just in our ward, we had, for the coordinated campaign in 2018, we had 60 people from our ward volunteer for the coordinated campaign, 50 of whom we had recruited through our grassroots organizational efforts. And so when people sort of tell you it can't really happen, that is not true. It really can happen. And in fact, sometimes I would knock on the door and I would introduce myself. I said, I'm your Democratic political junkie from the neighborhood. And we're trying to organize Democrats. And honest to goodness, there were people who would come out and hug me and say, thank God, somebody's doing this. And it turned out that, for example, my precinct, which is at the corner of Academy Eubank, is a blue precinct. It has more registered Democrats than Republicans. Now, right across the street is Tanawon, and it's a little different, but anyway. So what happened was we had this wonderful thing that happened, which was many, many seats in the Northeast Heights flipped. And it flipped because, quite frankly, the demographics had changed and it became a more competitive area. And what happened was that we got the Democratic vote out. And so in 2018, for the first time, I think ever, District 27 had a Democratic state rep, and his name was Dr. William Pratt. Now, Bill Pratt and another fellow in the district used to alternate every year, losing, and every other year, losing against a fellow by the name of Larry Larranaga. Larry Larranaga was a longtime Republican state rep up here and would be the state rep still today, I think, except for the fact that he got ill and he stepped down and all of a sudden it was an open seat. But Larry knew everybody. He'd been the rep up here forever and ever, and he was a Republican. So Bill Pratt, 82 years old, whose idea of campaigning, because he was mobility limited, as he would drive around the neighborhood, if he would see somebody in their yard, he would stop and get out of his car and go introduce himself. And bless his heart, he was really, really nice man, good man. And unfortunately, on Christmas Day this past year, he died. And so the seat was now had to be filled. And there were 8 of us, I believe, who applied to the county commission for the appointment. I got that appointment by a 5-0 vote on January 7th. The session began on January 21. There's many metaphors you can use. Drinking out of a fire hose works. It was an incredibly intense time to all of a sudden be a state legislator. And I went into the 30-day session where I actually passed a bill and made a number of mistakes, but nevertheless managed to be involved in some legislation that I thought was important and that I want to continue to follow up on. And one of those is we were trying to extend the statute of limitations for civil suits brought by the victims of child sexual abuse. And who would vote against that, right? At least that was my feeling. And we got it through the House easily, and we got it into the Senate. And all the stories you've heard about the state Senate are true, but don't tell anybody I told you that. We got over there, and I don't know what the agenda was, but it never actually even got to the vote of committee. And so it died. So one of the bills I want to bring back is that bill, which it needs to be passed. Okay, so tell you very briefly a little bit about myself. I'm a retired lawyer.
So you've had 10 minutes there and it's perfect, and you have 5 minutes left. So
perfect.
Might want to, if it's all yours, we only have one question, which I'm not sure what it is about volunteers, but one thing is to talk about what your concerns are about the campaigns, your challenges, and what you need help with. It would be my question, but it's yours.
All right, so I've already used 10 minutes. Oh my goodness, okay. All right, so I'm running, I won the primary by I won the primary by 68% plus of the vote. My opponent in the general election is the man who lost to Bill Pratt 2 years ago. His name is Robert Xochtil. He is a hardcore Trump supporter. He is a 20-plus year veteran of ICE. He's an retired ICE agent. His ex-wife and his grown daughter are my supporters, my donors, and my volunteers, which is kind of a strange situation. He rants and rails against foreign aliens who are taking over the country. And just kind of a sense of him. The mayor had on his Twitter feed had something about Gay Pride Week and something, and Bob retweeted it. Next to the tweet, he put gag. And that's, I mean, he's a hardcore guy. So, but this is now a swing district. And, but it's a hard district still for a Democrat to win. We will start phone banking probably at the end of the week. And because we can't knock doors, we will need help with phone banking a lot, all through to the end. And that will probably be the major volunteer help we will need, is with the phones, just because we have so many, quite frankly, thousands of calls to make as we work on persuadable and decline to state. And there's about 6,000 decline to state voters up here. So anyway, lots of important things to do. I'm on the health committee, and there's just so many things we need to be doing in the legislature, and healthcare, economic recovery. These are key issues for me, along with the kinds of things I talked about, the providing the remedy for the victims of sexual assault when they were children. So did I use up all my time?
No, you have 2 minutes left.
2 minutes, okay. Well, let me then just add, no, but I'm taking the question time.
Actually, no one's posed questions, so.
Oh, nobody has a question, okay.
We do have one question, Maida.
Yes, I asked for clarification, I didn't get it. Wendy, do you want to ask that question?
I think that Felice is,
I can ask.
Chat person.
So this question is from Wendy Parker Wood, and she wants to know, Marian, if you can round up those 60 volunteers from the coordinated campaign to help you in this campaign.
Well, that's a great question. And in fact, we have a lot of volunteers in the primary, and we will reach out to many of them to help in the general. But of course, we've got, everybody's up now, the state senator's up and all kinds of people up. And of course, the presidential election is happening. But I hope to get a lot of help from many of them, because we had a lot of those people. And the other thing I would just mention, more than 20% of my donors are from the district, which I really, really appreciate. And I think it shows the level of support I have within my own community and the work I've done in my community to get to know people and to be somebody that they see as who they want as their representative.
Okay, we have one more question from Hillary Schlinger. It is, what are your priorities for the health committee?
My priorities for the health committee, there's 2 primary ones. First of all, we want to be absolutely sure that, at least to the extent we can in this state, that we protect everybody's right to have coverage for pre-existing conditions. And we did some work on that during the last session in terms of private insurance. I would love to see us move the needle on the number of people covered. We've got 200,000 or more people who are not insured in the state, and we need to work on that, but it's a tough issue. The other thing that I'm really focused on in the health committee is reducing prescription price the price of prescription drugs. We passed a bill to put a cap on the cost of,
is the resignation of Bernalillo County Sheriff Manny Gonzalez.
did Manny Gonzalez resigned?
Heinrich is called for his resignation.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought we were going to just break into a celebration.
Okay, well, I think your time is up, Marianne. Do you want to just, we so appreciate you coming, and if you want people to help you, what's their best way to get a hold of you? If the people
I'll
want
tell
to.
you what, on the chat, I will just post the contact information for myself and the campaign. Is that okay?
Fantastic.
Okay. I would do that. And thank you so much for asking me.
Our pleasure. It's great to have you. Let's do a round of applause.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have to teach everybody what a real round of applause is. You guys aren't elementary teachers, are you?
Oh,
You have to go around and
that.
around
That
while
is
you're
wonderful.
applauding.
That is wonderful.
Okay, I'll mute myself now.
Thank you so much, Marian. It's so good to see you. By the way, she was also once a yoga student. We go way back, Marian.
Yes, we do.
All righty, our next speaker is someone I've not met. I'm so glad she's here, Meredith Dixon, and she's running for the seat that Abbas, Akhil won last time around. And so again, Meredith, we're really delighted you're here. It is now 6:22. I'll round to 6:23 and give you 10 minutes to begin. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much for having me this evening. I'm excited to be here. I've heard so many wonderful things about Nasty Women, New Mexico. I think that there are a lot of folks on here that I don't know. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about who I am and why I'm running. And then I will talk about District 20, which is the House seat that I'm campaigning for. And then finally, what needs my campaign might have, and how you all could support me if you're interested. So first, I'm here because this is a critical moment for New Mexico. I'm not just talking about the pandemic and its consequences, or the movement for social change that's taking place here and across the country, although we can all understand how important those developments have been to our politics and our lives. Let me tell you about my values and what I want to see for New Mexico. For the last 15 years, I've worked alongside committed leaders like Senator Tom Udall and Speaker Brian Eagle. As a field representative for Senator Udall, I connected families and businesses to the resources they needed. I was proud to ensure that the government was working for them. As a senior aide in the New Mexico legislature, I helped lower the cost of prescription drugs and set up a statewide jobs tour to connect government leaders with business owners across New Mexico. I've spent my career listening, bringing people together, and creating change. And those are the values that I have worked hard to teach and demonstrate to my daughters. New Mexico has a quiet but proud tradition of community organizing, and my family has been part of that community building through Albuquerque Involved, an organization I helped co-found 7 years ago that directs members' donations and volunteers to local nonprofits. My daughters have been volunteering since the time they could walk, handing out boxes at food pantries, landscaping and painting low-income housing, and building garden boxes at a group home for disabled adults. And if there is one lesson that I hope my daughters will take from these experiences, it's that there is no community except the one we build. If we want to live in a place where no one is hungry, where everyone is safe, where people who need a helping hand can get it, no one will build that place except us. The people of this state need and deserve partners in the legislature who can help take on the challenges that only the government can really address. If we elect people who approach every problem with the idea that we're going to listen to everyone, we're going to bring people together, and we're going to get things done, then New Mexicans will have the partner in government that they need and deserve. Over the past couple of years, we have made progress toward a state government that is a better partner. We've seen this through record investments in education, the expansion of the Working Families Tax Credit, and by putting New Mexico on a path to a carbon-free energy future. But the truth is, we still have work to do. I have 2 daughters, and I want for them what all parents want for their children: safety and to experience the fun of being a kid. And as they get older, the ability to follow their own road, wherever it leads them, and to live their lives with confidence, wherever that may be. And like all New Mexico parents, I would like for them to have the opportunity here in New Mexico. And so I think a lot about how to make that possible for all of our children to build their lives and families here. But being 50th on so many lists doesn't help. And I was thinking about that earlier this year when the legislature took up the question of increased funding for early childhood education. It's widely recognized that the best investment a government can make is in early childhood education. Just look at the front page of today's Albuquerque Journal. The legislature had the chance to support a large-scale, sustained commitment to educating our youngest. House Joint Resolution 1 would have put a constitutional amendment on the ballot for New Mexicans to decide yes or no to a 1% increase in disbursements from the Land Grant Permanent Fund. For many of us, passing this wasn't just about a bill. It was about putting down a marker that says we're in this together and we are going to make New Mexico a better place. It felt like finally we were going to get this done. A majority of the legislature was for it, the governor was for it, and an overwhelming majority of New Mexicans were for it. I and a lot of other people thought it was a done deal, and it should have been, but it never came to a final vote. The bill never made it out of its first committee in the Senate because of the unwillingness of one senior legislator to tackle one of our state's largest problems. It was a crushing defeat. But refusing to talk about the issue or come up with solutions is not the way to govern. And by denying the people of this state the opportunity for discussion and to vote, they silenced the voice of New Mexicans who are fighting to invest in our children today and tomorrow. The failure of this bill isn't just about any one person. It's about an outdated way of thinking that always seems to be against trying new things, a way of thinking that always found an excuse. While I do believe we are moving away from that approach, the experience of the early childhood education bill showed me that we aren't there yet. And that's why I'm running, because we need representatives who believe that when the people of New Mexico want something done, their job isn't to find excuses, but to bring people together and find a way. We need that in District 20, and we need that throughout the legislature, because sometimes all it takes is one person who's determined to say no, and we're back at the old way of getting nothing done. We deserve better, and our children deserve better. So that's why I'm running. Really, thank you. Let me tell you a little bit about the district. Sounds like folks here know Abbas Akhil very well, and he won this race 2 years ago by 115 votes. It was quite the squeaker. I think that his nickname is Landslide Abbas, something like that. But District 20 is southeast Albuquerque. So we start to the east with part of Carnuel. We have some north tramway and Lomas, some of the foothills, and then we go west, central, down to the Air Force Base and the Sandia Technology Park. So we really have a diverse district. We have 4 Hills, which is where I live, and we've got a lot of Sandians and folks here. We have Volterra, which is a newer community in the district, and actually one of the real reasons that it has become a swing district. Volterra is more affordable homes for families. A lot of young families have moved in there, military, other Sandians. So that's sort of those are the boundaries of the district and sort of the makeup. I mean, it's a really diverse community. But as I said, it has shifted over the last 10 years. 10 years ago, it was considered a very safe Republican district, very similar to Representative Matthews. It was represented by Ted Hobbs, R.J. Berry, Jim White, Jim Dines, and then Abbas. But now the district really is just more than 50% Democratic voting. And so my goal is to approach this race as a bipartisan person who can bring people together. I consider myself a pragmatic progressive. I am a progressive in values, but I'm also married, and Marla knows my husband, married to an engineer at Sandia who's a Republican. And so every day, I have to hear both sides of issues. And sometimes we just agree to disagree. But other times, he can learn a little bit, I can learn a little bit. He did in fact vote for Hillary Clinton and does not support Trump. So I like to put that out there.
Meredith,
Yeah.
we have a question.
Okay.
So this is from Wendy Parker Wood.
Okay.
And she is asking what type of help you need the most.
Perfect. And I apologize.
Or money.
Okay.
Or
well, both is wonderful. I think that, my campaign is doing well in terms of fundraising, but I could really use support from volunteers. We are going to be starting our phone banking and texting program and our friends and family program. And so I will put my campaign website and my phone number in the chat box. And I would love to have people help us because we're going to need it. Can't knock doors, so we've got to talk to people another way.
And there was a previous question that we didn't get asked for those people that prefer not everybody likes phone calls. And so some alternatives are writing postcards or letters, but you did mention texting. So do you have those other kind of opportunities?
Yes, we do. And that's part of the Friends and Family program for folks to write postcards, mail letters, texting, other opportunities. Yes, thank you.
so are we done?
I think you have more time, Meredith.
Right? Oh, I
right?
do?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's just been 10 minutes, so you have 5 more minutes.
Oh, very good. Okay, well, are there other questions? I'm happy to talk about some of the issues, that I'm particularly interested in. Are there specific things?
I would ask, what is the, if you go to a place like the State House and New Mexico has so many challenges, like what are the top 3 areas that are you most concerned about?
Sure.
Some number.
Okay, so, and this lines up with what I think the concerns are in the district, both from what Representative Akhil was able to tell me and also in my conversations with voters. Education, economic diversification, and public safety. And so those are the 3 areas that I would really like to focus on. Particularly, really quickly with education, I am a strong supporter of community schools. I believe that that offers just such a wonderful opportunity to really invest in the entire student and incorporate their family, and also to make sure that they're getting the health care that they need and other services. So community schools, we have some in District 20, and I think it would be great if we could expand that. Public safety, I'm very interested in working with technology and other programs that we have to prevent crime and also sort of work smarter. So leveraging technology that way. And then economic diversification. New Mexico has incredible opportunities to diversify our economy. We need to leverage our sustainable competitive advantages. And so we do talk about this a lot, but aerospace, bioscience, cybersecurity, renewable energy technology, low cost of electricity, these are things that we really just need to build on to bring new companies here, to recruit them, but also to support our existing companies and our startups here in state. So those are the three big issues. And then I saw another question come through on the chat.
What committees would you like to be on?
Sure. So Commerce and Economic Development is definitely a committee that I'm very interested in, both from my past experience working with the Speaker and Senator Udall, and also I think that the district would benefit from that. And then potentially appropriations, just sort of need to see what the opportunities are.
Can you quickly tell us who your opponent is, your Republican opponent?
Yes. So my opponent, his name is Michael Hendricks. He ran against Hector Balderas in 2018, and he describes himself as a Christian immigration attorney. So he practices law, but he's very conservative. He is pro-life, pro-traditional marriage, pro-NRA. So I think he's sort of a stark contrast to me.
And I think Hillary had a question, so I don't want to cut you off, Hillary, if you want to just unmute and ask it.
I did unmute. I had met with Abbas Akhil and I don't know if he's in here. I see his Mac Pro. I and another representative from the New Mexico midwives had met with Abbas for quite a long time. And he was generous with his time, and we spent about an hour and a half talking. And so I guess that my issues, and I live in your district, and I've knocked doors, and I've called people, and I've had some positives and some slam doors and hang ups. So I certainly know about this district, but would love to talk to you about women's health in general, about training more midwives, and about the problems with the poor distribution of women's health around the state, where we have, and healthcare in general, but obviously my tunnel vision is women's health. So I just more wanted to comment and to ask if you were interested in talking about those issues as well.
Yes, absolutely. I would love to talk about those issues. I did have a great conversation with Chairwoman Debbie Armstrong about some of the health priorities in future sessions. And maternal health was one thing that we discussed. So I would love to talk with you. And I'll just let you know that I have an incredible midwife and had midwives and doulas for the births of both of my daughters. And it was the best decision ever.
Thank you so much. Your time is up. I appreciate your time. And if you want to also post in the chat how to get a hold of you so we could support you in any way we can, that would be great.
Great.
And thank you. And now the next speaker is
me real quick. Is me real quick, remember?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I've had a couple questions and some texts from people about how to see people. So if you go up to the very top right corner, you will see speaker view. And if you tap on that, the person who's speaking, me right now, should be the big person on your screen. Blah, 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 okay? But if you go then and do gallery view, then it will go back to the gallery. And you then, if you go onto one side or the other, you'll see a blue arrow, and you can go to page 1 or page 2 to see the different people's faces or names who are here. Okay, so I've had a lot of questions about how to get, and a lot of people like to see the speaker up bigger. but a lot of people like to see everybody's faces. You also, if you should be able to just tap on somebody's, no, that's G Meets, so I take that back. But anyway, so there you go. Hopefully that should help some of you.
Okay, so thank you very much. And now it's 6:40, I'll say 6:41. And it's so wonderful to have Melanie Stansbury back. Thank you so much, Melanie, and welcome.
All right. Well, hi, Nasty Women. It's great to see you all. First of all, let me just apologize and explain that I am sitting in the back seat of my car in Santa Fe right now because I had to come up here for some business. And so it's a little bit of an awkward place to be streaming this, but that's why it looks like I'm being chauffeured right now. I'm actually sitting in the back of my own car. So let me start by, I'm going to post here all of my contact information in the Zoom chat. So let me start first with a little bit of a story. So I'm Melanie Stansbury. I'm a state house rep for House District 28, which is in the Northeast Heights. My district runs essentially from Bear Canyon down to Lomas, so it borders the district that's soon to be Meredith's, and it goes from about Morris and Wantabo to the very top of the Crest Trail at the top of the mountain. I was a first-time candidate in 2018. It was an extreme honor to be able to come and meet with you guys at that time. And I have to say that I stuck around for the discussion that you guys had the night that I came and spoke to you. And I just thought it was so cool to see a bunch of smart, brilliant women sit around and debate on policy and politics and do so in such a respectful and kind and thoughtful manner. And so I really think that what you guys are doing is awesome. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to come talk to you today. So I'm going to start with the header. I need your help. My district is one of the top 6 targeted districts in the state. It was flipped in 2018. I was told every single day of my campaign it's not winnable. And not only did we win it by almost 8 points, but the Republicans are gunning to turn it back and Trump is dumping money on our state. So in order to win this race and to keep that district blue, along with the rest of the Northeast Heights and the foothills, I need money and I need volunteers. So 2 of the big things that really would be extraordinarily helpful is if you do have any extra resources, obviously I'm taking donations. I put my donation link here in the window, as well as if you'd like to write a check, you can mail a donation. I do not take corporate money. One of the things that I felt was really important in the 2018 race was to demonstrate that not only could we win a swing district, period, that we could win it based on progressive values and by not kowtowing to the political machine. And we did. And so the way we're going to do it again is by mobilizing the same grassroots effort and money that we did in 2018. And that's why I have to relentlessly ask people for their support. Secondly, on volunteers, the way we flipped House District 28 in 2018 was that we created a massive grassroots movement up in the Northeast Heights. Right now, we're in the process of creating a Foothills Northeast Heights unity campaign with the Senate and House districts throughout the Heights, the Foothills, and the East Mountains, because what we learned is that it's not enough to just have a statewide coordinated campaign from the party. We have to actually mobilize people all across all of our districts and have a shared campaign office where people feel like they have a community, where they can get out, where they can actually help support each other. And I'm not just in this to win my race. We're going to flip every single district on the front of the mountains, in the canyon, and on the east side of the mountains. And the only way we're going to do that is if you guys sign up to volunteer to help us. So we all need volunteers to help for a unity campaign. We're going to plug that into both the county and the statewide coordinated campaign, but all of us also need individual campaign help. So I have already started my field program. We're in the process right now of throwing what I'm calling online block parties. So we divided my district up into 2 slices, and we've called through half of my district of the persuadable. So we've called over 1,500 people in the last 2 weeks and invited them to a block party tomorrow, which will be on Zoom. And we're going to be starting the second half of our district on Thursday. And so if you guys would like to sponsor a phone bank, or any of you can sign up to make calls from home, it's super easy. We do trainings, it's fun. We're also going to be doing a pretty aggressive texting campaign, and we're also doing postcard writing for our introverts who don't like talking on the phone, because I'm with you, I don't like talking on the phone either, but I have to. So I'm going to try to tour de force very quickly about like who I am, how I ended up here, and as you know, like I said, I'm kind of like in between things, so I apologize if I'm a little bit all over the place. How did I get into politics? I have worked in science and natural resources policy for 20 years. I started my career as a science educator. I got really interested in water policy while teaching kids about water science. I went back to grad school and studied political sociology, and actually I was a teaching assistant for Maida's brother at Cornell in the development sociology program. And then I moved home to New Mexico because I have always been deeply dedicated to economic development and sustainability. And that's always been the thing that has motivated me and been my North Star from the beginning of my career, from the time I was a small child. So I, in 2010, was in New Mexico working on my PhD research, looking at how our communities have been fighting over water for many generations and how to heal and restore those relationships while supporting sustainable economic development. When I had the extraordinary opportunity to go work in Washington, D.C. for the Obama administration, and I left with 2 suitcases thinking I would work there for 6 months and ended up staying for 7 years. I worked as a budget analyst in the White House at OMB for 4 of those years, and then I worked on the Hill for 2.5 years as the water and science staffer in the Energy Committee. And in 2016, I was living in Washington, D.C. and working as a Hill staffer when the 2016 election happened. And when I woke up the morning of November 8th, or 7th, 8th, whatever morning that was, I rolled over and I looked at my phone and I cried for the rest of the day. And my coworkers called me and they said, "Are you going to come to work today?" And I said, "Why? What's the point?" And I ended up going into work late, and we all, went out afterwards, and then we talked through the night. And over the next month and a half, it was the end of that Congress, we got our freaking asses kicked every single day. And it wasn't just because Trump had won in 2016, it was because it had emboldened a culture in Washington, D.C. that was corrupt, that was by any means to get things done, and gave a license to unravel all of the important work that had been done for generations to really, I think, restore faith in government and move our country ahead. And on the last night of that Congress in December, right before the holidays when we adjourned, Congress, under the leadership of Paul Ryan, passed a bill that undermined everything I had worked on for the 7 years I had been in Washington, D.C. And that night, I decided I was going to move home to New Mexico and take the fight back to my hometown. So I came home, I commuted back and forth the following year. I did the Emerge program, and late the next summer, I was asked by some of the women on the board of Emerge if I would consider running for office. And I got in my car, I drove home, and then I showed up at a community meeting one day that Liz Dyer and others were at, and they said, "We want you to be our House rep." And I was like, what? Don't any of you want to run for office? And they were like, "No, we don't." And I said, "Okay, well, let's give it a try and we'll see what happens." So from that day forward, we started building this massive campaign. I used social network theory and all the sociological stuff that I had learned from Maida's brother to mobilize our community and from the amazing other candidates who were running. And we built out this amazing campaign. And I won, and since then I've been working on all the same issues. I've been working on food and hunger issues, homelessness, economic development and STEM education, and water and energy. So the 2 big pieces of legislation that I'm most proud of was a grid modernization bill that Representative Akhil and I passed this year, and a Water Data Act, which we passed last year. And I would say in terms of my priorities going forward, I believe that the single most important thing we can do to the New Mexico legislature and for state government to advance our state is to modernize our legislature, modernize our state government, and get more community-minded people elected. Because it's not enough to get one person elected to one district, or even 16 people elected to the House if the rest of our state government does not have a modern mindset and is willing to roll up its sleeves and get to work and work on behalf of our people. And so that's why I'm not only running for re-election myself, I will fight every day for the rest of my life to make sure that people like Meredith and Marian and people like Abbas get elected and fill every single seat of our state house, our local officials, all the way up to Congress and the president, because that's what it's going to take to make this social movement lasting. So that's why we need your help. Any of you guys that can sign up to help, you can donate. All of us need the help. And I think with that, I'll stop talking.
Well, you've already been voted for president. I just have to say, if you look at the chat, it's first it was governor. Now we're going for you as for president. So, just so you know, my mother's here. So Tom's mother is also here. So
hi.
Are happy for you now.
Hi, Mrs. Herschel. Your son was not only a professor, but my boss for a year.
That sounds like a bad deal, knowing my brother. But anyway.
He's a very creative teacher. He likes to play guitar during his classes.
I believe you, yes. So questions, Felice, do you have questions to ask? Okay, I saw that somebody said, could you name all the people in that unity party, but then they posted it. So I think we've got that answer, right? Claudia, go ahead.
Yeah, I would add Julie Brenner, who's going to beat Bill Ream. People are saying that that's not a winnable seat, but the primary turnout was high. So we really need to help Julie raise some money, and she's in this for 2 cycles. So if she doesn't win this time, she's going to flip that seat next cycle.
Melanie, who did you say? What's her name?
Julie Brenning.
Julie what?
Brenning.
Brenning, I'm sorry. And what district is she?
I don't know the district number, but it's the district just north of me.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's most everyone, but certainly anyone can be looped into it. We're just getting a sort of jump on sort of coordinating our activities. So the thing that I have put out this week to our Unity folks is that every precinct chair and every ward chair recruit 5 people to become what we're calling Democratic pool volunteers who can work base voters for all of us, not just individual campaigns, because that will help us keep our focus. Like Meredith and I have to convince a lot of Republicans in declined states to vote for us. And Marianne does as well. So we're sort of doing 2 things. We're recruiting for our own campaigns as well as for this joint activity for the coordinated.
I don't see any new questions coming up. Yeah.
So let me ask you then, what would be, your highlight and your low light of the legislature? Like, I think you said the highlight with the 2 bills you passed about water data and water tracking, but so maybe you don't have that, but then if you could be candid about maybe what wasn't so great.
Well, I think the highlight and the low light are the same thing. It's the people and the people, to be honest. Here's the thing. So I'm a sociologist. I've said this a bunch of times tonight. And the structure of government and your institutions ultimately dictates what you're able to do. And New Mexico had a legislature that was created in 1912 during a period when we were a colony of the United States as a US territory. It was intentionally set up to be a weak institution where predominantly white men and landholding men would come one time a year and vote on things that were in their own self-interest. And then over the last 100 and, 18 years, it has maintained that fundamental institutional structure while adding a few new voices and pieces of legislation to modernize our code. But it remains fundamentally entrenched in an institutional structure and a culture that is not professionalized. It doesn't reflect our modern values, and it doesn't reflect the diversity of our people, our ideas, and the needs that we need to actually transform our state to get ourselves out of every single socioeconomic economic indicator. And so to me, there are people who go to Santa Fe because they want to make a difference. People like Abbas and Meredith and Marian, who are deeply dedicated to doing the people's work, but they can't because the structure is flawed. And then there are people who go to Santa Fe to party it up and live the good life, and frankly, who are part of that old school political culture and who perpetuate it and also prevent us from moving forward. So I think that they are one and the same. We have extraordinary people who volunteer and spend countless hours representing our people. And then we have a structure that just sucks. And so I think that again, this is why I come back to the most important thing we can do is to re-people our state government and then fundamentally transform the institutional structure and culture of it from the inside. So maybe that was a bit of a broad stroke, but.
No, it's perfect. And I guess the last thing is, do you have a comment about Sheriff Gonzalez that Wendy Parker would ask that?
Well, as you guys have probably heard, it's going to be announced tomorrow, but the news was broken today that Sheriff Gonzalez has been working with our Attorney General Barr to invite in Homeland Security to provide federal agents pursuant to Trump's efforts to bring federal law enforcement into communities. And I think that it is an absolute abuse of power to not work with our local law enforcement, state and local officials, and lapse of judgment. And I don't have a canned statement. I'm just beyond words. I'm incensed.
We all, yeah.
I think we all are.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. You're so impressive. We so appreciate you giving us some time today. And I'm saving the chat, so I'll put the word out too. And yeah, let's all give her a round of applause.
Thank you guys. You guys are amazing. I love you. And I got to go now, so I'm going to sign off. Bye.
Thank you for making us so important that you sat in the back seat of your car. Thank you.
You guys are important. You're the best.
Thanks, Melanie.
Bye.
Bye. Well, aren't we lucky to have such amazing women working for us? It's kind of inspiring, isn't it?
Very.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and share my screen again, and I'll go back to the our little agenda. So that was the first part. If you have, of course, we're always interested in feedback. We haven't done this one before, so let us know. I think I did realize I don't think I turned on the raising the hand thing, so I'll be sure to get that fixed for next time. So the second part of our meeting is really kind of our business that we want to talk about and what we are kind of thinking of doing and where we are. The first one I've already mentioned called the survey. And I don't think I see Marla here, do I? Marla, are you?
She's here. She's here.
Marla, do you want to unmute and say anything about the survey?
Well, I want to say that even though surveys are boring and a drag, it's very important that everybody take a few minutes to fill this one out and to be thoughtful about it, because the virus kind of shook the organization up. We have had to regroup and figure out how to best serve everybody. And the best way for us to figure this out is if you all fill out this survey and be thoughtful about it, and then we can serve you the most useful way to you. It's that simple. So please do it.
We'd also like to apologize. We, on one of the questions, we listed a bunch of candidates that we wanted to know if you wanted us to work on or focus on, and we left out Carrie Hamblin. So we apologize for that. And Julie Brenning, I don't know if there was anybody else. So if we left somebody out that was important to you, we apologize. Just add them in, please. Add as many as you can.
Let us know. Let us know who we've forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you, Marla. And then Wendy was going to talk to us for a few minutes about absentee voting.
Okay, I've got 2 minutes. This kind of is like, where's the Mona Lisa? I'm double parked. I have 4 points to make and 1 favor to ask. not to hold you in suspense, here's the favor. Please write this website down if you don't already have it emblazoned on your somewhere. NewMexicoVote.org. Not votes, not voter, nmvote.org. Okay. Point number 1. Maggie Toulouse-Oliver is meeting with her staff tomorrow, and they're hoping to get the Secretary of State's portal open by August 1st, which is early. But for the time being, the current status on this is tentative. Second thing, lots of voters that I spoke to, and many of us have spoken to, had difficulty with filling out the return envelope, the outside envelope for the absentee ballots. You'll be happy to know that this is being simplified. When you send in your absentee ballots for the general election, you will only, on the back of the envelope, have to sign your name and provide the last 4 digits of your social security number. Not 9 answers anymore, just 2. That's great. 3, there still seems to be a lot of confusion about this. I apologize if it's redundant, but we really need to get this clear, and we need to make sure our friends are clear about this. All registered voters are going to be mailed a request for an absentee ballot. Please note, that is not a ballot, that is a request for an absentee ballot. To get the actual ballot, you have 2 choices. You can wait for the ballot request that will be sent either directly from the Secretary of State's office or in some counties from the county clerk. You get that in the mail, you fill it out, you mail it back, and you wait for your ballot, which then you fill out and you mail back. Your second choice, is to go, once the portal is ready to accept requests for absentee ballots, you can go to NewMexicoVote.org, and all you'll need is your New Mexico driver's license, and I think they're planning on simplifying it to just providing the last 4 digits of your social security number. And you can request your absentee ballot online, and you can skip all the rest of that rigmarole that I talked about earlier. So then, once you've registered online at NewMexicoVote.org, the Secretary of State will send you your ballot. Believe me, if you have computer access, that is the way to go. Finally, there are lots of dates that you need to keep in mind, and when they're finalized, we will be putting them on the Nasty Women website with a lot of other information about candidates, etc. Give me a week, about a week on this. I'll try and get it done before NewMexicoVote.org is open. And finally, if I've got 20 more seconds, I just would like to put in this pitch. There's one volunteer activity that all of you can do, and that is please tell everybody you know to, if they can, to request their absentee ballot online. Tell them about NewMexicoVote.org. And please, all of you use it as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Wendy. I appreciate that. The next is Marianne's going to talk to us about census taking. Marianne, where are you? There you are. You have to unmute first, and I'll spotlight you. There we go.
Okay, I'm gonna make my excuses first. I am suffering from a very severe tooth abscess, and so my brain hasn't been working that well in the last couple of days. Anyhow, on the census taking, as you may have heard, our state, not surprisingly, is the response has been very low, and that really does hurt us, and I'll explain in a minute. And the other thing is that there have been a lot of changes in schedules. For some strange reason, the local office of the census is going to close early. It's early, actually. They're talking about closing in between August and September. So access to a local office will not occur after September. So people were surprised, you know, how long does this go on? It doesn't go on all year. And we're approaching some deadlines that this has to be added up and reported. And those reports, the really important reports, the what's called the apportionment and the redistricting figures are going to be delayed by 3 months. So what the president would have gotten at the December 31st will not happen until March. And that means that all of the effort that goes into redistricting, according to our population, will be delayed as well. And so this is not good news because it really does put a lot of pressure. We already have problems with redistricting. And if you access the webinar that's, I think, occurring right now, that Retake is doing on redistricting, you can get that after the, just go to the Retake site, Retake Our Democracy site. Because there's some very good information from the League of Women Voters and a project they have about how this works, and it doesn't work in our favor if we're undercounted. It's really a problem. And the delays will also make it more difficult to have our districts set so that candidates can know in time when to even file for a district. It's much more complicated than that, but that's the short story is we are not getting enough response. And so there, and I think I'll have to post it somewhere because I can't find it right now. There is a website to go to that has a lot of ways you can help get last minute responses and make sure that we're better counted.
Okay, thank you, Marianne. And we'll be sure to get to the membership, both the Retake Democracy, which is actually happening right now, but we made sure about redistricting. And so they have said it'll be recorded, so we'll post that, as well as the website that tells us how we can support getting more of us counted. So we'll make sure that gets out. But Marianne's gonna keep talking because she's gonna talk about how Marianne, both and I were sort of representing Nasty Women New Mexico to an organization that works with being allies. And so with that, I'll let you speak, Marianne. Thank you.
Okay. Nasty Women New Mexico, I'm going to read something that we had written to kind of explain this. This is called How White Allies Can Support Black Lives Matter on Policing Issues Locally and Nationally. And we were invited to discuss ways we can stand with Black Lives Matter and other justice groups addressing police violence here and elsewhere in the US. Meda and I have been meeting by Zoom with folks from PDA, Nahalat Shalom, JVP, and Indivisible, Nob Hill are the primary groups right now that are talking. And to research and propose actions that align with Black Lives Matter efforts. We will not be, the underlying concept was that any work done in this area would be discussed with the local Black Lives Matter groups, related groups, to be sure we are following and not leading, or we're standing with, but we're not running the show. And the solutions and policies being discussed are wide-ranging and look at everything from police reforms in the short term to what does defunding mean, or and what other solutions there might be. Of course, all of this has to be in the larger context of addressing inequality, structural racism, and the justice system. So it's really complex. There are a lot of factors to consider. The most immediate concern was, a few weeks ago, the negotiations that will be happening by the city administration with the Albuquerque Police Officers Union on their contract, which just expired on June 30th, but is in effect until a new one is signed by the mayor. The worst aspects of the contract shields police officers against whom complaints are brought, making disciplining and firing officers almost impossible. And the DOJ monitor, and if you don't know about this, we'll be updating you on this as well. Because we had so many police shootings and use of force, the DOJ had actually come in, I think during the end of the Obama administration, it was not under Trump, has found that APD very resistant to change that would fix this and over policing in general. But that isn't actually a limited oversight, so that's not the whole answer. The contract isn't, and there's many other things. So we, Meta and I proposed that Nasty Women take this policy research and legislative actions, make it one of our major initiatives for at least the next year. Congress, the New Mexico legislature, and the city council and county commission, as well as the mayor's office, all have or will have policy changes and legislation in the works addressing policing and funding social issues instead. This also should be one of the issues we demand action and accountability on from our candidates and our elected officials. Now the situation has started to get, it's a fast changing situation, as you might, if you're paying attention, you'll know that it really does seem that that the Sheriff Gonzalez has shown his true colors. He was not our best Democratic candidate to begin with, and he has actually initiated more of this and been enthusiastic about this funding of the $71 million from the feds for something called Operation Relentless Pursuit. And I keep saying it sounds like a video game, and I think the mindset there is really about that level. So it seems like in the last couple of days, the sheriff going to see Trump about this seems to be trying to push the hand of the city, and this is my own theory, but he really is actually combining that with what's been going on in Portland, which since my son lives there, I've been paying a lot of attention to. Had seen some very disturbing video. And so right now we're dealing with some federal action that almost everyone here is very disturbed about. If you're paying any attention, it's very disturbing. And it's really concerning also because early in the year, the Attorney General, William Barr, this is the US Attorney General, said that we would have a problem with getting that money for Relentless Pursuit if we insisted on staying an immigrant-friendly city. So I think a lot of this looks like a lot of maneuvering to undermine our relationship with, or lack of, with DHS. So again, it's very complicated politically, and it is a fast-moving situation. So we'd like to keep you better apprised about this if you're concerned. So in the survey, you can mention if this is an issue you care about. We are really trying to do a lot of research, very data-driven research on, one, what are the recommendations from the organizations like Movement for Black Lives, which has some very, very good, important suggestions on what has to be done in terms of criminal justice and policing. Questions. I see a whole lot of things in chat. Can somebody digest them for me, or? Oh, okay, I can start with the one, start where. That's
I think there's just one question.
Yeah, it's a lot of chat, but just one question. So has the county and city, they've each been offered Operation Relentless Pursuit money separately?
No, they had to do it together. It's one award. And so that this is some kind of a game going on. Manny's playing power games because the city has not apparently signed the agreement yet. And the word from ACLU is that, from Baron Jones, is that about mid-August, about August 15th is the deadline for the city to sign on to the agreement or MOU with the Justice Department for this Relentless Pursuit money. So I'm quite certain that they're not on the same page. I mean, the county and the city, or at least the sheriff and the city are not on the same page about this.
Okay, well, thank you. This is more to come, and we'll be updating you, and again, interested in what our organization wants to focus on. So I think I'm ready to move on to letters to the editor. Is that fine with everyone? Is that okay with you, Marianne? You're complete?
I will, as for specific asks, and there are times, there are things coming up in the council that people can support. There are things that are coming up about, to participate in the supposed community input sessions, whenever that's supposed to happen, about the police contract. And those are the local things. There are things all the way up because Representative Holland has some very excellent legislation proposed in Congress too, and needs support on that. So we'll let you know.
Okay, thank you so much. It's such an important work. Really appreciate that. So our next speaker is Nandini.
Perfect.
Nandini, and she's going to speak with us about letters to the editor. I think I saw her here, and it looks like she's unmuted. So let me see if I can highlight her screen. So she's going to be recorded. Okay, you're all set. Take it away. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, I'll try to be quick, and you're dealing with such important things. I hate to take up this time, but I'll try to be quick. And thank you to Terry for helping me get on your agenda and pitch this idea of developing a rapid response letters to the editor for this election. I don't think any of you will think I'm exaggerating when I say that I see this as sort of an existential threat. This president has been something I'd never thought I'd see. So while we know that we have to beat him, I think we have to use every single tool in our toolkit to do so. No question that get out the vote is the most important thing, and I'm definitely going to be working on that. But the idea occurred to me, and I did this during the Obama campaigns as well, that we need to be getting our side and our ideas and our vision out in print more regularly, and to rebut the kind of nonsense that I see in letters to the editor in the journal regularly. And so I just wanted to make sure that we can pull a group together that works sort of in a joint fashion. Nobody needs to be writing in sync. It's all voluntary, of course, but it's a way for us to help each other out if we work as a group. So when I looked at the journal this morning, it was a good example of the frustration I felt, because the majority of the letters opposed the governor's decision to not reopen indoor dining. So I come back to this and I say, we need to be getting some letters out that present our side of the view. So if you like to write, please, sign up and join me and join the other people that have signed up to do so. If you're an expert in an area and can help us with talking points or can write about some of these issues that we think are important and need to get a little bit of airplay or print play, if you will. And I'm talking about things like criminal justice reform, healthcare reform, racial justice, climate change. Any one of these issues that are so important to us if you are an expert, then please contact me and maybe we can help develop an op-ed, or you can do it on your own. I just urge you to do it. And the third thing is, if you are willing to sign letters that have been ghostwritten, very often when people who write get published, they can't put another letter in for 4 weeks to 6 weeks. So if you're willing to have to sign letters, that would make our writers go even further, if you will. We've only got a little over 100 days to this election, so I'd really like some help on that. Finally, I'm trying to make this statewide. If you have colleagues, friends, connections in Las Cruces, Taos, Silver City, for example, and others, Carlsbad, and you're willing to circulate this information and have people there, do 2 things. One is to let us know if they see anything in their papers that need to be rebutted. That would be very useful to us. And 2, if they're willing to write letters, if they need help, we can help them with that. So I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I appreciate this opportunity, and I noticed people asking for the email. I believe I don't know. I believe Terry has a document I sent out with the email. I can put the email up on the chat as soon as I finish talking, and you can email me directly if you wish. So unless there are any questions, I know you've got a big agenda. I'll stop talking here. Thank you again for listening.
Thank you so much. Such a great campaign. And you can also put the information in the chat, and I am saving the chat. So
okay.
I'll send it out. Thanks so much. All right, our next speaker is Terry. Our own Terry Storch is going to talk about, for just 3 minutes, the Working Families Party and what they're doing. And take it away, Terry.
Okay, thank you, Maida, and hello, everybody. And, you know, I'm hearing these themes a lot tonight about working together. And across New Mexico, across Albuquerque, there's an important and exciting realization that all the organizations and individuals that are working on social justice, racial justice, economic and environmental justice issues can be stronger and more effective if we reach out and support each other and work side by side on the common ground. And Working Families Party New Mexico is taking the initiative in that direction. Felice Garcia and I met a couple of weeks ago with Micaela Gallegos with Working Families Party, also Nasty Women, and hello, Micaela, you're here tonight, I've seen, and Ana Marian, to talk about just that. So New Mexico Working Family Parties is holding a virtual statewide convening on August 8th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. to start the process of building plans to win back power in 2020, and also to think ahead 2021 and 2022 to make sure that we keep the power and gather more power in those election years. You know, grassroots community groups, their members, activists from across the state, from big cities and rural communities, are all going to be at this convening on April 8th. And they're going to be coming in from across all interest groups as well. And so Felice and I are going to be going to that convening, but Working Families Party wants to invite everybody here tonight, Nasty Women, to that convening. So the invitation is out. I will get the address for joining the convening on April 8th and put it up. And it looks like it's already up there. So that's great. So thanks very much. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Terry. Oh my gosh. A minute to spare. Life is so good. Okay, so we're honored to have Clarice Fooks here today to talk about Black Women for Biden. Clarice, I'll be glad to spotlight you so I can, there she is. Welcome, and thank you for coming and talk to us.
Well, thank you for having me. I guess as I listened to Nandini speak, I got involved with Black Women for Biden out of probably frustration and also just simply wanting to support that organization. I was working very closely with the organizer, Paul Zest, in terms of the Biden campaign. And about 2 or 3 weeks ago, he was shifted over to Florida, and I have heard nothing else about what's going on with the Biden campaign here in the state. So I have switched over, and now I am working in a number of other areas. But one of those areas is Black Women for Biden. It's a national organization. I have sent to Wendy a blurb that I believe will be going into a newsletter. I think it's fairly new to New Mexico, but it does operate nationally. Right now, the two people who are co-liaisons for the meeting are Sonia Mooring Smith and Pamela Hendren, I believe is her last name. They are really in the process of organizing and putting things together and getting people to volunteer. One of the things that they have done just recently is to divide the state into 4 quadrants. And what they're doing is trying to get a group of people who would be willing to work in each of those quadrants. They need captains for, I think, 2 of the quadrants, and they just need volunteers for others. How we've been meeting and organizing and probably trying to get our thoughts together, we've been meeting on Zoom, and it's been every other week. Now, our meeting for this week was supposed to be tomorrow, and just recently I got an email that said they are postponing that meeting until next week. Let me just tell you that although the name says Black Women for Biden, that is a very loose name for the organization. It's really all women. It's all men who would like to participate in kind of making some of these things a reality that we've been talking about. So next Wednesday from 6 to 7 o'clock, there will be a meeting. It's a Zoom meeting, and if you're interested in participating in that meeting, you simply go to blackwomenforbiden.net, not .com, but .net, and you will need to put in your email address because that is the way you will get information. So you can certainly sign up for that meeting for next week. And it's a good group of people. They're very enthusiastic and very much willing to make a difference for this election. Now, let me tell you why tomorrow's meeting is canceled, because there will be a meeting, a Zoom meeting tomorrow. And the title of that meeting is going to be Reform and Black Lives Matter, What Next? Apparently, this is being put on by the Bernalillo Democratic Party. And I don't know if any of you have heard of it or not, but I would certainly say try to get in on that meeting. I just got this today. So if you would like to get in, again, either go to blackwomenforbiden.net or give me a call and I will kind of throw the information out to you via email or a text message. So please indeed take part in this event. I think it's going to be very helpful. I've listened to what others have talked about, and this will be an opportunity for us to get perhaps firsthand information. Sonia will be on the panel. I don't know the other individuals who will be there, but I do so encourage you to get some firsthand information about Black Lives Matter and where do we go from here. Let me see, I guess important dates other than our meeting for next week would be to keep in mind that October 5th is the date for early voting to begin, either by mail or in person. I know we'll be getting more information on that. In terms of Black women, September 17th, there will be a special event that's a fundraiser. And then September 22nd, there is a National Voter Registration Day. Just to put those on your calendar, keep them in mind. Again, if you want specific information, I would refer you to blackwomenforbiden.net. And if you have any additional questions that I can kind of lead you into an area for more information, just give me a call. I'm home 24/7 in the house. So that's it. So thank you for asking me to say just a few words, okay?
Clarice, thank you very much. And I see Paula Jackson asked you, isn't there a tracking number they want with donations? Ask Clarice, or Vera Watson asked that, sorry.
Okay, would you repeat that then?
Isn't there a number, a tracking number they want with donations?
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, if you are putting a donation through, go on the website. So do it through the website, but also contact Sonia Smith and let her know that you have donated and how much you have donated. So yes, there's not exactly a tracking system, but the only way that I know of that they are keeping track of who is donating and how much money is if you let Sonia know. Now, on the blurb that I gave to Wendy for your newsletter, there is a contact number for Sonia. So please do that. We are trying to reach a goal of $5,000 for Black women from New Mexico. And I think at this point, we've gotten about 27 or 2,800. So we certainly need your John Hancock on a check or a credit card, but we also need volunteers. So that's my plea for right now. We need volunteers. Please join us next week for the meeting, even if it's just to listen in and get a better idea of where this group would like to go.
Thank you so much, Clarice. Okay. Appreciate it.
Okay.
And I'll unmute that. So now we have just a few other topics to talk about, which are part of our agenda. And I put down the area of, I don't want to be spotlighted. Oh, stop that. So how do I do no spotlight? Okay, so.
Go up to gallery view and speaker view and do gallery view.
Okay, there we go. Thank you very much. Oh, I could stand that.
Didn't I just speak about that?
Yes. So there are only 3 other topics, and then our time is about up anyway. I hate to go over the prime. I just wanted to say that some of the work that maybe you all didn't know as much about is that, we did some candidate forums for the state Senate for the primary season, and that was super successful. And then some of us here and other places as Nasty Women actually did some phone calling and fundraising for some of the really important state house districts, and we did that, and I think that was fun and productive. And so we're really looking to what is the most productive thing we can do between now and the end of the year. And again, so we want to continue the momentum, but we want to be focused and have really clear ideas of where we want to help work out. And so back to the survey, but also you can think about it, and you've now heard a lot of ideas, so maybe more comes to your mind. And then to speak about Xochtil Torres Small, I don't know if maybe Wendy wants to say something, but we're using Swing Left to do a lot of work for them. And Wendy, did you want to say anything about that work?
We had a, thanks, Maida. We had a launch meeting yesterday for 2 hours, and we have a new field organizer that's coming from the Chicago area to take care of the northern region of the district, and we'll be working named Arash.
Somehow you got muted, Wendy. Could you unmute yourself?
Yep, sorry. Okay. Xochtil. They had a field organizer for the northern portion of the district.
Wendy, we can't hear you.
You can't, okay.
There you can. Now we can.
Wendy, stop moving your head. Just walk straight forward, okay?
Okay. Swing Left is organizing phone banks, if you're interested in phone banking. And we will be putting information up on the website about if you want to get involved with Xochtil's campaign, how to do it. And I'll get that up as soon as I can. I've got a lot of stuff to put on the website. But this is, as you all know, as you all probably know, has been announced by the Washington Post as the most competitive race in the United States. So there's going to be a lot of interest. She's polling sort of in a dead heat with Yvette Harrell, who was her opponent before. This is going to be a very, very tough race. And if you know, those of you that want to volunteer, if you have a candidate that you're definitely working with, if you can find some time for Xoch, she really is going to need as much help as we can possibly give her. Thank you.
Okay, so we can just go ahead. If there are any questions, of course you can ask, but just as for fun, who can say when does the census end? You can unmute and talk. You can all unmute and talk now because we're at the end, we're getting questions, we're talking. So when does the census end?
October 31st.
Unless the government changes it. You know, there is my daughter works for the census in San Diego, and every day they say, oh, they may extend it, which means she would be employed longer. So I'm in favor of it, but right now that's the date. Will you receive an absentee ballot in the mail without requesting one?
No.
Oh.
Who did Marian defeat to win the seat?
Hey, you're a poet. Don't you know it?
Marian Matthews.
He was appointed.
The incumbent died. Bill Pratt.
Who is the only non-incumbent tonight?
Melanie.
Meredith.
No, Meredith.
Meredith.
Oh, no, non-incumbent. Sorry.
So she's fighting for Abbas's seat, who we all worked for. A lot of us worked for really hard, and he won by such a few votes. So it's a really important race. And who won by 1,000 votes 2 years ago?
Melanie.
There you go.
For president. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
What organization is being used to support Xochtil Torres Small's campaign?
Swing left.
Left.
When is the next Nasty Women New Mexico meeting?
August 8th.
August 18th.
August 18th, yes. And how will you get involved? There you go. That's the quiz.
Only the shadow knows.
So let me know if you like the quiz idea. It was totally my idea. I offered to facilitate, so I had the idea and I just did it. I really didn't get it. You know,
It's cute, Meta. It's cute. Cute.
Yeah. So I put in Sonia Smith's information, everybody, and that number for Black Women for Biden. You have to be a little bit persistent. It took me a couple of weeks to get back with her. You can also send a check, but all that stuff I put in the chat.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Sure.
Vera.
You're welcome. We want him to win.
We will put as much of this information as we can. Well, some of the websites and things will go on the our website as well. If there's anything you'd missed tonight,